Okay, all right.
So your video is not visible yet.
Now it will be, I think.
Yes. Okay.
Is it
So we
visible
go
now?
live now.
Okay,
So
all right.
yes, yes.
Sure.
Okay. So Naman joined in today on our 16th Know Your Species, Know Your Zoo talk. This talk is being organized by the Central Zoo Authority, New Delhi, as part of the ongoing Azad Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The Mahotsav is a 75-week-long celebration to commemorate 75 years of India's independence, which falls on the 15th of August, 2022. The Central Zoo Authority is as a to coexistence, people connect. Under the helm of this campaign, we will be showcasing 75 conservation priority species and 75 zoos, highlighting one zoo in week 16 of the Mahotsav, with the Malabar banded swallowtail as a species in focus and the Bannerghatta as the zoo. And to us on the species is Dr. Krishna Kunde. Dr. Kunde is Associate Professor with the National Center for Biological Sciences, Bangalore, and he leads a research team on the diversity and biology of Indian butterflies and has spearheaded the Biodiversity Atlas, which is an for butterflies of India, the longest running modern citizen science platform in the country. He has authored over 5 books on Indian butterflies, published over 80 research papers, and described 5 taxon groups. He is also the Earthwatch Innovation of Species Fellow for 2021. He will speak to the species and its concerns and the concerns over its conservation. Over to you, sir.
All right. Again, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to talk about butterflies always, and especially today because it's one of the species that I love. It's an endemic species. I've been watching it for a long time, and overall, it's just a terrific species to talk about conservation on. So I'm pleased about that, and especially the program for which I have been invited. It's a privilege to be part of that, and I'm very, very happy that Central Zoo Authority and MOEF has taken this project up, this outreach program, which I hope will popularize butterflies a little bit more and hopefully also bring attention to the conservation concerns of this species as well as many other species of butterflies and other organisms that this program is going to be highlighting. So I'll start with my presentation. This is going to be about 15 minutes of presentation from now before I hand this over to Dr. Vipin Sinha, Sharma. So I'll do that. So here's my presentation. Oh, wait, let me go to the first slide. Okay, all right. So this is my name, Krishna Kunde. I'm an associate professor at National Center for Biological Sciences, KFR, in Bengaluru. I have a lab website where you can read more about our work, but we work a lot on butterflies. That's our primary focus, but we also work on a few other projects on Indian biodiversity. And as I mentioned, India has a spectacular butterfly fauna. Here are just some of the examples of the species that you see in India. As you can see, they are wonderful, very colorful species, and the diversity is also spectacular. And I'll talk a little bit about it in the next few slides. And as I mentioned, there are more than 1,400 species. A large number of them are endemic, rare, and endangered. And I'm particularly happy to talk about in this program for 75 weeks, 75 endangered species and the week 16, which is what we are now right now, I'm going to be talking about the Malabar banded swallowtail, which is Papiliopolitus, and of course, we will later talk about conservation of butterflies in Indian zoos. And the zoo in focus today is Bannerghatta National Park, and Dr. Vanashri Singh will talk about the Butterfly Park. I've been interacting with this park for quite some time. It's a wonderful resource. And here is our species. What you see here is a male butterfly which is on wet soil, and I'll describe this behavior a little bit more when we talk about the biology of this species. But it's a beautiful species, in some ways, very simple pattern. This is the upper side of the species. I hope you can see my cursor. This is the upper side of the species. It's a jet black butterfly on which there's this very prominent pale greenish band which goes from one wingtip to the other, crossing both the wings. And then there is another band of spots, a series of spots in the submarginal area. This is called a swallowtail butterfly, and it's also in the name of this particular species. So the swallowtail comes from these two tails that you see on the hind wing. And this entire group of butterflies is actually called swallowtail butterflies. And we'll again talk a little bit more about this particular group. But this is the characteristic wing pattern of this particular butterfly: black wings with a pale green band on the forewing and hind wing with these markings. And notice that there's also this tiny area with a black spot around, surrounded by a green and slightly pale orange spot. So it's a simple pattern, but a beautiful pattern. And on the underside, the wing patterns are much more intricate. You will see that there are numerous black spots which are overlaid with some blue spots. There's slight yellow. It's just overall quite a pleasant looking butterfly. And it's a member of the swallowtail butterflies. It's family Papilionidae, and this particular genus is called Papilio, which contains a lot of these butterfly species with swallowtails on the hind wings. And this is its distribution. Oh, by the way, its nearest relative is in Southeast Asia. So in India, this is the sole representative of this subgenus of Papilio butterflies, which occurs here. And here's the distribution that you see. As I mentioned, it's endemic to the Western Ghats of Southwest India, and it occurs a little bit into Goa, but most of its distribution, the well-known distribution, is from northern Karnataka all the way to the southern tip of the Western Ghats. We don't have records on this Butterflies of India website at ifoundbutterflies.org from which this particular map is taken, but it occurs all the way to the southern tip of the Western Ghats and the Malabar coast. So it specializes on the low-lying wet evergreen forests of the Malabar coast. So Malabar coast is the coastal strip here west of the Western Ghats. So there, and largely on the western slopes of the Western Ghats, there are a few records on the eastern slopes, especially in the Anomalise. But the stronghold of this butterfly is really the low-lying evergreen forest on the Malabar coast and western slopes of the Western Ghats. Um, it's commonest in areas of heavy rainfall, at least 2000 millimeters rainfall per year, but typically it is much more common in areas where these areas receive 3000, 500 millimeters of rain, and typically below 700 meters above sea level. It doesn't like mid elevation and high elevation forests. So it's a very specialized butterfly in its typical habitat. And another reason why it's even more specialized is that it has only 2 or 3 generations per year, meaning that it's bivoltine. It has 2 generations in many areas, or multivoltine perhaps in some areas, especially perhaps southern Karnataka and then Kerala. But the precise number of generations in different parts of the Western Ghats are not so well studied. That's something where we do need more information on the biology of this species. And the biology of this species is quite interesting. I'll describe this a little bit more in the next few slides. But the species feeds exclusively on, not exclusively, but predominantly on one species of larvalose plant called Acronychia pedunculata. It's a member of the Rutaceae family. So lime, lemons, oranges, they're all part of this family called Rutaceae. And lime lemons, they're in a different genus, citrus, which this butterfly does not feed on. Many other swallowtail butterflies in the Western Ghats feed on that, but this species feeds predominantly on Acronychia. Its caterpillars will not accept larval plants in any other genera similar to citrus, but it does accept Melicope also, but not as commonly as Acronychia. So you will see that there are multiple levels of specializations. A, it's endemic to the Western Ghats. B, it is found only at low elevation forests, and then forests with high rainfall, has very few generations in a year, and then feeds predominantly on a single species of plant. And all these things, perhaps as a result of these things, it's a rare species, quite patchily distributed in these low-lying evergreen forests. And a result of this rarity and extreme specialization, this species is legally protected in India under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So this is uh, one of the strongest conservation legislations in the country, and Schedule 1 is actually the topmost legal protection that any species can get in India, and this species does have the Schedule 1 protection, and that schedule includes species like the Asian elephant, snow leopard, tiger, and many of the endangered species of birds as well. So it's a very strongly protected in India under this conservation legislation. And what I will say is that you can read more about this species in two resources. This book that you see, the Red Data Book of Indian Animals, in which the Butterflies of India is a volume. I think it was fourth or fifth or sixth volume in this series, published by the Zoological Survey of India in 2005. And you will get a little bit more information on the pages 93 to 96 of this book. But the latest information on this species is going to be on the Butterflies of India. So this is the Butterflies of India website. The link is given here, ifoundbutterflies.org, and it's Papiliolimedon. And you will see that it's a Schedule 1 species. So what I'll do right now is I'll temporarily stop this particular presentation. I'll go to the website where I can show you some cool pictures and also show you the distribution in perspective. So let me just quickly share that screen. Okay, can you see my screen on the Butterflies of India website?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir.
So this species has no subspecies in India. That you will see, that's taxonomic information I did not mention earlier. And this is the precise distribution of this species. You can zoom in and you will see all the different localities in which this butterfly has been recorded. Some of the localities where you can see it really well are around Mangalore. Actually, around Mangalore, it starts to become quite common. There are also some localities in Uttar Kannada district around Karwar area. So that's really the northern stronghold of the species. And then from Dakshin Kannada district and Mangalore area, you will start seeing it quite a bit. And in northern Karnataka also, it's quite common. You will get a list of specific localities from this butterfly has been known in the Western Ghats. And you can browse this, you can explore this a little bit more. You will also see it's predominantly known from two states, Karnataka and Kerala. There are a few records from Animalize, as I mentioned, the Tamil Nadu part of it, but very few records and very few images are known from that. And let's see if there are pictures of Lavalose plant. There are not. And this is where we now look at the interesting biology of this species. I had shown this on my in my presentation as well, but I'm going to show you this picture now. This is a wonderful picture by Yedu Arlam. This is his social media name. And what you see here in this particular picture is this is the female, which is laying eggs. You will see that its abdomen is bent. This is the host plant, Acronychia, on which it is laying eggs. And this yellow thing that you see is a chain of eggs that it is laying. This butterfly is very unusual in the sense that, like other butterflies, which usually lay one or two eggs on a particular lavalose plant leaf, and then it will go to another branch or perhaps even another individual of the plant and then lay some more eggs there and then move on. Unlike that typical habit of laying eggs, what this particular species does is that the female will start with one egg, and on top of that egg, it will lay yet another egg. On top of the second egg, there'll be third egg, and so on and so forth. So it basically makes a chain of eggs, and that chain of eggs is what you see here, this yellow thing on below the leaf. So it will always lay eggs under a leaf. And this is a close-up of that chain of eggs. So you can count the number of eggs that are laid here. So that's one. This is the first egg that was laid. This is second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th egg. So there are 13 eggs in a chain here. Typically, they lay anywhere between 7, 8 to about 15, and some in rare cases up to 20 eggs, but 7 to 15 is usually common. So this is a very interesting behavior, and all these caterpillars within a matter of a few hours will come out, and then they will start feeding on all the leaves. These are young caterpillars. They are primarily yellow. There are some really small, tiny yellow tubercles on these caterpillars. And slowly, as they grow through different instars, you will see that. Let me show that to you. So here is another picture of the chain of eggs. By the way, these images are by Dr. K. Saji. He has been photographing butterflies in Kerala for a long time. Many of the early stages, the life cycle images on our website are done by him. And this is a freshly eclosed, freshly hatched caterpillar, just a few hours old. And then it slowly grows. This is, they turn yellowish orange. And here you can see all these small tentacles that the caterpillar develops, or tubercles that the caterpillar develops. And then through successive molds, from yellow it turns into a green caterpillar, a beautiful bluish green caterpillar. And the previous instars or stages that you saw, the yellow ones, it goes through four of these instars or stages. And in the final instar or stage, it turns into this beautiful gray blue color pattern, color form. And you will see it has this yellowish color, which is retained. And then there are these two thoracic bands, and then several more bands on the abdominal segments. So it's a beautiful caterpillar. If you get to see it, do observe it in nature. It's a not just a pretty caterpillar, also an interesting caterpillar. And these are eating machines. They are more or less, most of the time you'll just see them eating. Only when they're disturbed, for example, when you approach them, they feel a little bit scared, and then they will sit like this with their legs placed close to their body, the head pushed under its body, but normally it won't be in that posture. It will be more or less somewhere at the edge of the leaf, eating the leaves. And here is another view of the caterpillar. This is from the side, and you will see that these long tubercles are quite prominent. Yeah. So after a few days of feeding, these large caterpillars will then pupate. Oh, this is just before pupation. You will see that the color has become slightly deeper. The skin of the caterpillar has become more shiny. And that is when you know that this caterpillar is going to pupate. And this is how it anchors for pupation. It makes what is called a silken body band. This is that band. All these threads that you see are made of silk, the black silk that you see here. This is made by the caterpillar. So it makes a loop around itself, and around the silk girdle, or rather inside the silk girdle, it will just curl up and then leave the surface. It will lie like this, curled up slightly. This stage is called pre-pupa. And after hanging like this for up to 16 to about 16 to 20 hours, this caterpillar will molt, this pupa will molt, and this is what the pupa looks like. It's a green pupa, very, very hard to see. Caterpillars are a little bit easier to find because they're in prominent places on the leaf, especially larger caterpillars. And you can find them by the damage that you see on the leaf. So the damage is caused by the caterpillar as it eats these leaves, but the pupae are nearly impossible to see. I've seen caterpillars many times, the butterfly a lot more times. I've never seen a pupa in nature. The only times I've seen pupae is when I have raised these caterpillars and then they pupate, and then I've seen the pupa. So it's extremely difficult to find the pupae, and of course, pupa, a stage being immobile, it can't really defend itself against predators. So its best defense is camouflage, which is why it's very hard to find in nature. Here is the back of the pupa. Again, you can see that long, spiky projection on the back of the pupa. It has these very interesting small spots, but generally it's not a very conspicuous uh, conspicuous pupa. So anyway, you can explore more on this website. There are lots of pictures of the pupae as well. And this is a growing collection. You will see this. I think there are several dozen images right now, but hopefully there'll be a few hundred more when more and more observations are put in this website. So notice that on this website, we have only about 25 observations of this butterfly. This is how rare it is. For commoner species, we have hundreds, if not thousands of records. But for this endemic species, we have only a few records. So if you have records of this species, if you have pictures, you can go to top here, submit observations, and help grow the knowledge of the biology of the species. Anyway, I'll stop sharing this now. I'll go back to my presentation. It's nearly 4:26, so I'm towards the end of my 20 minutes. So what I'll quickly do is I'll go back to my presentation and I will mention that. Okay, so in terms of conservation or steps towards conservation, what is being done right now, there's a new IUCN Species Survival Commission's Butterfly Specialist Group. This is a group that will help IUCN assess conservation status of different species. And Papilio the Malabar banded swallowtail, is one of the species that we have covered recently. And we are also helping state forest departments with management plans and biodiversity surveys in different national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, which is building information on butterflies of the Western Ghats, the Himalaya, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So these are the four globally recognized biodiversity hotspots in India. So through the Species Survival Commission and other collaborations with state forest departments, we are building information on all the species which are legally protected in India across these four different biodiversity hotspots in India. And a lot of information is being generated through that. It's not just me, I'm talking about this, but it's a group of butterfly biologists and serious naturalists who are helping generate a lot of information. There are also lots of studies through Kerala Forest Research Institute, especially Dr. George Matthew, who is retired now, and his students had done a lot of studies, especially on endemic species like the Malabar banded swallowtail or the Sahyadri birdwing. And there's some conservation breeding work done on the Sahyadri birdwing, not anything on Malabar banded swallowtail yet. And hopefully that's something that we'll hear with reference to the Bannerghatta uh, biological park, and especially the Bannerghatta Butterfly Park, which is a prominent butterfly park in the country, one of the first ones. And hopefully, we'll hear more about how Malabar banded swallowtail and other species could be conserved here. So, with that, I'll stop. I will also stop sharing this if I can find that. Let me see.
Right. So thank you so much for the enriching
Uh,
presentation on the butterfly and giving us a virtual tour of the
yes.
I Found Butterflies website as well. I think everyone will benefit a lot with it with their personal observations.
Arundhati, can you confirm that my screen sharing has stopped?
Yes, it has stopped.
Yes, it is.
Proceeding
Yes,
further,
yes,
we
Vishnu,
would
yeah.
now be moving on to the. We'll be moving to the second section, which is on the zoo. So, joining today to speak to us, Singh. She's the chief conservator of forest and the executive to Bannerghatta Biological Park. She is an Indian Forest Service officer of the 1998 batch with over 2 decades of experience in management of forest. She has served in various capacities, and the present role has been ensuring the smooth running of the zoo during the pandemic. She will speak to us today more on the history of the zoo and the status. Over to you, ma'am.
Paneshi madam, your microphone is off.
Ma'am, yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arundhati. At the outset, I would like to thank Central Zoo Authority for selecting Bannerghatta Biological Park as a part of Bharat Ka Amrit Mahotsav program. And thank you so much, Dr. Kunte, for making such a wonderful presentation. I just was seeing the caterpillar and it reminded me something like bullet train, metro train. I mean, it's a topic of biomimicry, it seems. It's wonderful. Those pictures, it reminds us how stable structures are these, selected by nature. And nature is perfect. And we try to learn from nature. With this note, I would like to take you through the journey of Bannerghatta Biological Park. Bannerghatta Biological Park is carved out of national park, so it is very, very unique in nature. It is not in isolation, unlike many of the zoos in country, which are surrounded by the landlocked areas. This zoo or park is a part of the national park. It was till 2002, until it was brought to the purview of Zoo Authority of Karnataka in 2002. So it has a wide area of 731 hectares. It is so unique that when you come to the Bannerghatta Biological Park, you can feel the vibes of nature. It is because we are situated at the terminal tip of Mysore Elephant Reserve. This entire area is Mysore Elephant Reserve, comprising of at least 10 national parks and sanctuaries, full of protected area network of Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. And we are well connected with this area. And this portion, the topmost portion is zoo, biological park. Biological park comprises of basically 4 facilities. One is zoo, then safari, in which we have herbivore safari, bear safari, lion, tiger, leopard. Leopard safari is coming up, elephant care center, and then unique butterfly park. And we have rescue center, rescue and rehabilitation of the animals, especially leopards and bears, which enter into man-animal conflict and we need to rescue them, are housed here in our rescue center, which is off the display area. The master plan of Bannerghatta Biological Park has been approved by Zoo Authority of Central Zoo Authority way back in 2014 and valid for till 2033 with the objective of ex situ conservation, coordinated breeding program, education and awareness creation, scientific studies and research, rescue rehabilitation, germ pool conservation. Basically, we have initiated recently with CCMB for biobanking and cryopreservation of genetic material that are facing threat of getting extinct. This is the one board I just wanted to narrate a story. That's what I said. So this board I had to, place in front of our gate because we were slapped with a notice of 5 crore rupees by the entertainment tax department, saying that the visitors coming to biological park, they get entertained when they see animals, and therefore you have to pay tax. We said no. The main objective, as per National Zoo Policy 1998, is apart from conservation breeding program, to conservation research, the main objective is to inspire citizens, educate them, create awareness, tell them about the survival of the species, how it is linked with the conservation of nearby biodiversity and ecosystem entirely. So the commissioner got convinced. It was at the final flag end, and he has dropped the para. So thanks to National Zoo Policy, I really thank those policymakers who had vision even during that time, and very well drafted document which we focus and we use it everywhere in our signages. We have collaboration with several partners. BMTC's Bangalore Metropolitan this Transport Corporation, and they have TTMC area, so a lot of buses come, so visitors come through that. Then we have KSTDC again, transport. We have tie-up with them. They run our safari buses. Then Jungle Lodges and Resorts. So they have a small cafeteria, and they are doing work, civil work for creating interpretation center there. And they are also based in safari area, and we have tie-up with them, and we get license fee regularly from these 3 organizations. They make payment to us, which help us sustaining. And as you are aware, Bannerghatta Biological Park is one of the self-sustained, self-sufficient zoo which earns gate revenue, and it doesn't get any grant from government. And we use the same revenue for feed and fodder and salary of the staff. Then we have veterinary sciences department's lab, diagnostic lab, which help us in diagnosis of the diseases. If we come across any kind of diseases here in the safari animals or any other animal, they have PCR and it's well-equipped lab. We have then SOS and Born Free Foundation. They are helping us for bear, the rescued bears from Kalandars long back, several years back. So those rescued bears are housed and they are taken care by Wildlife SOS. And we have WRRC, that is meant for rescue and rehabilitation. More than 100 birds, reptiles, they come here as it is a metropolitan area, urban area. They get stuck in electric wire or that or any kind of, there are a lot of myths, superstitious belief that also leads certain housing of certain animals, turtles or some kind of slender lories, or these are animals are housed because of some kind of myth, sandboa especially. So those are all rescued at the city limit, and it is brought to WRRC. As per our annual inventory, as on May 2021, we have 102 species, and total number of animals that we have here is 2,300 plus animals. And the tiger population is 17, lion 27. That includes safari, rescue center, and also zoo. Elephants, we have 25, sloth bears 72, leopards. We have rescued sloth bears also. And the rescued leopard number is very high. Almost 36 leopards are rescued. Looking at the revenue expenditure and the footfall, the number of visitors, you can see the trend as it has impacted in 2021 due to COVID. Last year, we have started the zoos with the standard operating procedure in place, and we got it weighted by health department and got it evaluated by health department. And we did a lot of exercise. We started with online ticketing system. and people had confidence, so it increased, the footfall increased incrementally, and we could earn revenue of 15 crore plus, and the footfall was 5.5 lakh last year. This year, now post lockdown, we are going to start zoo tomorrow. So with all the protocols being followed, we have again revised the standard operating our SOP to health department, and health department has approved with some kind of restrictions. And I'm happy to mention that we are going to start our biological park tomorrow. So as I said, that education and awareness is the main objective of zoo. We have a program called Chinnara Mrugalaya Darshana, which allows all the government school children to come participate. We arrange food for them, and we take them on zoo visit and create a lot of awareness. They get involved into several activities. Our education officer, I'm happy to note that since 2017, education officer could educate and sensitize more than 4,000 students from government school. We have concept of zoo club wherein the children they enroll themselves, and Saturday, Sunday we were having it. Now it is not due to COVID, and they get involved into creating awareness. These children, they participate, so other children like it. They feel that a child like me, a student like me is explaining to me. So there is a lot of demand for enrolling their children in zoo club. Then we do arrange conservation talk. We were honored by talk by AJT John Singh sir. Then our member secretary, Zoo Authority of Karnataka, BP Ravi sir. Then we also invited Vidyatraya for man-animal conflict on leopard issue. There are a lot of leopards that even the cubs, if the mother leopard is shifting the cub, in the meantime, people just lift the cubs and bring it here. So we wanted to sensitize people what are the do's and don't, what they need to do when the leopard man-animal conflict is there. So we have created such kind of online. These are all online, except for first two. The conservation talks were online. We do have regular activities of green initiative by involving NGOs like Sahas. We have MOU with them, and we have a lot of people coming in, including the judges and the police also. We have nearby police station. They have also come forward for animal adoption. Judges have come forward for cleanliness drive, and students, of course, they are there. And we create awareness. We have this corporation, our municipal corporation called BBMP, a very active support from them. So we got this plastic recycler in, who can recycle the plastic. So he comes and he regularly collects the waste and take it, and we make the nominal payment to him. Then we have biomedical waste management also. All the biomedical waste that is generated is also going to the common treatment facility at Mardi. And electronic waste also we try to collect and provide it to the Sahas NGO so that they can take it to the concerned agency which can treat it scientifically. Then we have had several times a lot of competitions involving students and announcing results for them. They get motivated. We have tie-up with the nearby schools and they come regularly. And today I could also get to know that some of the school want to adopt animals. So one school, one animal adoption kind of theme is coming up, and we are at it. We celebrate all the days: World Environment Day, Wildlife Day, Tiger Day, Snake Day, and naming ceremony also we do by involving people. And one of the most important day is Zookeepers Day. They are the building block of biological park, any zoo. Without zookeepers' involvement, we can't do anything. And their day we celebrate, and we have designed zoo oath, zoo pledge. So we take pledge on that day. And during this COVID time, since schools were closed, so education activity offline was impacted. So this time we had a lot of requests from specially able, underprivileged children, So we have taken them into the ambit of Chinnara Mrigalaya Darshana program. We have during the COVID time again had a lot of online talks. Then we have designed certain signages. We have, and then when the children come, school children come, or anybody comes, or any group comes, so we take a wildlife pledge, invoking Constitution of India, protect that it is our fundamental duty to protect and improve natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife. So this we have translated in our vernacular language, Kannada, and we take oath. Aim point that how we are connected and how we are all connected with the nature, and this ecological balance, if we disturb, how it will impact the city like Bangalore, how Bannerghatta is also sustaining in and contributing in the hydrology regime of the city, basically, how it is connected with the entire Mysore Elephant Reserve. So this kind of awareness and maps, people watch very keenly. And we also tell them about the forest types as per Champion and Safe classification. The forest type that we see here, because it's a very well forested area, is southern tropical dry in the plains, and in valley portion we have moist deciduous forest types and geology of this. Sometimes when the visitor comes to see safari, they feel that there is a fire in the forest. So we thought of creating awareness that it is a controlled burning. So we created such kind of signages. And we are committed to achieve the goal under Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, Goal 15, Life on Land. So we do create awareness invoking that. The lichen species are seen when there is a pollution-free environment. So that also we try to sensitize. We tell them about snakes, poisonous, non-poisonous. Then we often face the problem that people sometimes, I have put a feedback box. So I used to get regular, I mean, I'm getting it now also because of the lockdown from tomorrow onwards, so that we can improve every time. So people feel that animal is sleeping, so it must be sick. Then we had to sensitize them that the biological clock of this animal is like this, and then they generally take nap in the afternoon. So this kind of signages which we have designed based on the requirement, based on the feedback, how people think, and what way we can make changes to sensitize them further. Then we have regular training program for our animal keepers. This time we have conducted in-house training program. Last time we involved some experts and we could afford to do. So we have ex-military staff who are helping us in security. So they conduct regular fire brigade drill, even we call fire brigade vehicles sometimes. Since it's a vast area and we have some forested area, so we do face problem of forest fire. And even staff welfare, as a part of staff welfare activity, Provident Fund and their own welfare fund need to be addressed. They have a lot of grievances, so we conduct workshop for that, health camp, their rewards for their children. These are all our routine activities. Then enrichment is very important for animal health, psychological, physical, and it makes it active, and people feel that yeah, this animal is very active. So our biologist, Miss Aishwarya, she keep doing a lot of enrichment activity, and here we have these are routine activities that we do for every animal, mini zoo, this thing, but then this one is very nicely developed using hose pipe, puzzle feeder for primates. Primates being intelligent animal like humans, they take active participation in such kind of activities. And we also tried for audio visuals, and we could see that the aggressiveness of some of the rhesus macaque has come down. And then we also invoke olfactory enrichment to see if there is a specific behavior like such as Flement's response. As you can see, a curling of the upper lip by the lion. It is displayed by the herbivores also. Then seasonal enrichment, water sprinkling, and other things are part of the routine activity. The new facilities we have created, we have put a lot of signages, digital signages for entry, exit, and also display of the names of those donors who have donated money in animal adoption. So they are happy to see their names. And library we have created for people. So there's a baby care center. So if mother is inside with the younger one, the elder one can go through some. Now it is stopped because of COVID. And then we have created audio visuals also for the safari vehicles. So when the safari vehicle starts, then audio starts. And the video when they are waiting at the waiting time. Our executive engineer, Mr. Nagendrapa, and he has been quite instrumental dealing with the civil engineering works. So their enclosures we had completed, and 5 of them. Then jackal enclosure, fox, uh, recent happenings. New species in butterfly park. Now that we today is a day of butterfly, we have tried to breed a species called southern birdwing. That is the state butterfly, very big butterfly. So what was happening was the butterfly, when it was in pupa stage, because of the weight, it used to fall. So our scientist couldn't breed it. So he used some kind of technique and some kind of innovative thing to glue that pupa. And he was successful last year to breed that butterfly. I'm sorry, I did not include that photo. It's a black and red, yellow color, huge size, southern birdwing, second highest in India. And it is a state, Karnataka state butterfly. That was bred successfully last year, and even today we are breeding it. This moth was bred for the first time. Again, this is also very big size moth. So oleander hawk moth was first time bred in the butterfly park. Then dark branded brown bush was also first time it was bred in the butterfly park, and this was also evening brown butterfly was also bred for the first time. So these 3 plus that one, 4 butterflies were bred for the first time. And now we would like to try for Malabar swallowtail butterfly. Let us see. Let us see. We would request Dr. Kunte to provide us guidance, and we will try that butterfly as well to breed in the in vitro condition, in laboratory condition. We have started a new section of insectarium in the butterfly park itself, because a lot of people get interested in insects. So it's a very low cost initiative, because we were passing through a lot of constraints, financial constraints. So we just did whatever we had, the basic minimum resources. We started, housing certain beetles, and people are very, very interested to see them, like glowworm, millipede, centipede, praying mantis, scorpion. People are very much interested. They have also seen babies, the female scorpion, even that was seen. And then spider, signature spider, several insects we are displaying. It is upcoming section. Then we also, because it is a huge area of 731 hectares, we have a lot of biodiversity that we see through our staff notices and report to us. So we started documenting those biodiversity. The waste management, as I already explained, it is very much in place, and since last 2 years. And we have tied up with the agencies which manages it, like Murdi for common treatment facility for biomedical waste for plastics, recyclers, and then we are also into Varbi composting unit. We have recently had MOU with this rainwater man, Dr. A.R. Shivkumar is known as rainwater man, for water harvesting and groundwater management and taking up green initiatives in Bannerghatta Biological Park. We've conducted water audit, and we intend to make Bannerghatta water positive soon. And then we are at first at borewell yield testing and accelerated borewell recharge systems. So we are trying to recharge the failed bore wells, and we are at that section right now. So as you know, that this is a hydrology regime which can support, we have 10 lakes in Bannerghatta Biological Park limit, and then they do not go dry during summer, and they contain water. So we could do a lot of things like fodder grass raising and all. So we have recently developed information kiosk last year. It is offline. We want to soon make it online. And information kiosk intends to provide these information to people, animal information regarding animal adoption. They can then send their information that they are interested. Then education and outreach activity, if they are interested, they can fill up the willingness form about their qualification, their time of availability. Same in volunteers also. So we can know if whenever we need, and then their feedback and suggestion is also important. If we are going wrong, if we are doing something wrong, if anything is happening, if there is no water in the toilet, if toilet is dirty, we get the feedback. Or any staff misbehaves, we can get the feedback. So with that intent, we have created this kiosk. We will soon make it online. It is offline at the moment, and we can get the people's, those who are submitting the form, we can get their profile. So we can invite them if there is a requirement of volunteer. We can invite them if there is any talk or organized and they are willing. We are soon planning to start with the Nature Museum and Interpretation Center. TZA has approved this next to cafeteria of Jungle Lodges. And Jungle Lodges is doing civil work right now. And we have a theme of doing dome shape kind of a thing. And we can create awareness at near to the entrance itself among people, because any visit to park without signages and without interpretation center. Presently, we do have museum and small area, and signages are there. But this will give a very special feel, and they can also know what they want to do, because people want to do. Nowadays, I've seen that people want to contribute and support cause of conservation, but they do not know how to do, and they need to have confidence. So we can have one section of how do I contribute, and what are the do's and don'ts. So that will definitely help them orient. Will orient them towards zoo visit. These different sections we have created, right from history, exit to conservation, and we can highlight rescue and rehabilitation part. Our ADVS, Assistant Director Veterinary Science, Dr. Umashankar, keep visiting every alternate day for rescue. Whenever Forest Department calls, yesterday there was a leopard trapped in a area. So we went, tranquilized, and it was released by Forest Department. Many a times it has to be brought because the canine is broken. So he is into rescue rehabilitation. So we can create a lot of awareness, and it is a face for Forest Department. Basically, when people come to zoo, they do not distinguish between Zoo Authority of Karnataka or Forest Department. They just know that they are going to some government facility, and that too by Forest Department. So we need to be on our toes, literally on our toes, that we should not create any kind of discomfort and trouble to people visiting, and we should enlighten them at the end of the journey, because only then they feel happy. When they learn, especially when their children learn some terminology, some concept, they are very happy. So health, our Dr. Umashankar, ADVS, he is at it. We have two doctors here. His assistant, Dr. Ramesh, is also here, and he is at all health-related issues. And prior COVID also, we had all biosecurity, disinfection protocol, and diet chart, then vaccination schedule. Then we have deworming, supplements, vitamins, and all that. All practices were as a part of our routine practice. It was there. Now with COVID protocol, we are recording it for the public display also, that we are doing it in this manner, and we are putting it on near the entrance gate. So treatment, then the lab is well equipped. We have this laminar flow, and then this PCR for the in the diagnostic lab. So coping COVID situation was real challenge last year, and we did a quick online survey to understand mind of people, what they want. So we could understand that they want to carry their homemade food. So we made a special arrangement for them to eat, sit and eat at some places, good places. And we calculated revised carrying capacity, making it 50%. And we went for online ticketing in order to avoid overcrowding at given time. So then also conducted evaluation, and they certified that it is a safe place to visit. So which we uploaded on the website. So people had confidence, and the number increased incrementally every time. So it doubled because of the social media group. They keep posting the pictures, and then more number of people started coming by December and January last year. To face the challenge of revenue, basically we had less of revenue. We had some savings that came very handy, but to 1/3 of the revenue only we earned. So we had crisis, financial crisis, but we managed it systematically. We tried to rationalize the feed also of the animals by looking at the nutritional value of the material. We also did the fodder harvesting in house because the staff was relatively free. So we started raising fodder and fish also from our own pond. We started harvesting for the consumption of birds and lot of things we like repairs and small things. So only material cost we used to mention. We used to claim, and the labor cost was given voluntarily by the staff. So that way we have saved a lot of money and we were planting activities and all. We saved a lot of money by involving our staff. Our staff is all with us. We have 350 number of staff, and they are our biggest strength. This is how they were involved. And then grass harvesting, fishing, planting. So we also did some research studies here assessing stress hormone, cortisol, in select animals using this lab. And then we also did Sundar, one elephant that was rescued from Kolhapur temple and rehabilitated in Bannerghatta Biological Park 6 years back after Honorable Supreme Court's order. So even on that we started doing it. NCBS is also doing study here. Then we are at we want to have tie up with CCMB on biobanking, and internship program are very routine. These children which you are seeing are from Christ University psychology students. So they try to understand psychology of primates and relate it to human beings. So this is a stress hormone study, and these are the select animals: zebra, giraffe, tiger. Only few we have taken. So we try to collect the data first and correlate. So we want to have a data bank first, and then we will come to the conclusion as to how it is the weekdays and weekends. How is the impact? Male, female. How is the impact? And then this the Sundar tiger which was rescued, and this crawl was created by PETA and after Honorable Supreme Court's order. So this was when it was rescued, it was very aggressive because of the torture that it has suffered in its prior location, and it used to be very aggressive, throwing stones and all. So using positive reinforcement technique, our biologist come education officer Amla and Dr. Uma Shankar and the supervisor, elephant supervisor Suresh, and the Mahout. They have trained this elephant, and they have trained in such a manner that now it listens, it allows contact, protected contact, it allows, even without protection, it goes for swimming with the Mahout assistance, and it interacts with other elephants, and it used to earlier throw stones at Mahout. Now it gives stone. It doesn't throw. It gives stone because it gets then some fruit in return. So using positive reinforcement technique, this boy has become well-behaved boy. Coming to end, I really thank everyone. I would like to mention that this COVID time, due to effort of our member secretary, Mr. BP Ravi, sir, by involving film actor Darshan. He has given a news and he has given an interview, and because of that, we received 1.27 crores of contribution and donation for animal adoption in just a span of 2 months, only in Bannerghatta. In ZAK, we have got more, 3 times more than this. But this is in a span of 2 months, we have received this because of the efforts done by the MS sir. And previous year also we had efforts during last year COVID. So we have 56 crore, but then money is not important. We have so many people connected with us. 299 people were connected last year. Now we have 1,500 people connected. They are the ambassador of conservation. And we also had one day feed. Some people want to just give for feed elephant, feed this animal, feed tiger. So they can donate on one day cost. So we calculated 1 day cost. It's actually, if any adoption cost is 1/5 of the actual cost. But we haven't enhanced because this is not a revenue generating activity only. It is an activity to connect with people. So people want to do something good, and here it is such a big potential that we have had this much of uh, revenue generated during the crisis time, when especially we are facing this revenue impact due to COVID. Hopefully, it won't be there once. We have got support from government for rescued animals this time, but even then, we have last year, despite of COVID situation, we have been working on several factors, and we were successful in maintaining the tag of self-sufficiency. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for patient listening. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, ma'am, for the extremely detailed presentation on the status of the zoo and the research activities that are happening and how you're building it up. We now move on to the question and answer section of the talk. I would request you to stop sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Kunte, the first question is for you. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. So the first question for you is there a need to take up conservation breeding for certain endangered species of butterflies in India, as in terms of an insurance population for reintroduction purposes?
So currently, it's a little bit tricky. You need to have a lot of information to go ahead with conservation, breeding planning, or anything to do with sort of stepping in to conserve a species. With Malabar banded swallowtail, we don't know of any particular threats to its habitat, apart from the fact that evergreen forests generally everywhere are under a lot of stress and pressure. They're shrinking, some of them are vanishing. But within that, how many populations are actually affected and how many populations will actually benefit from some supplemental breeding and then release program, that we do not know, unfortunately. So it will be great if forest department, for example, can take up some studies to generate information on these endangered and legally protected species. So that's the first thing. But with sometimes it's probably more proactive. It's better to probably go ahead and start breeding some organisms, start getting experience of breeding these organisms, so that when the need arises, it will be easier to do this. So what Vaneshi madam mentioned earlier, they have already been breeding butterflies at the Bannerghatta Butterfly Park, and they have been doing a great job actually. Even at the Butterfly Festival every November, they release quite a few butterflies in Dorisanipalia Forest Reserve where this happens. So all these butterflies are raised from caterpillars. Many of them are bred and then they're released. So breeding and release is certainly quite feasible for butterflies. One great thing about butterflies and insects in general is that their reproductive rate is quite high. A single female can lay at least a few dozen eggs in a matter of a few days, and the largest females which survive for a little bit longer, a few weeks, can lay up to a few hundred eggs. So if you raise them really well, their mortality is quite low. So unlike, let's say, some larger mammals whose populations will grow very slowly, organisms like butterflies can be bred very rapidly. In a matter of a few months, you can potentially breed thousands upon thousands of butterflies. So in terms of introduction programs or cases where certain local populations have become a little bit scarce, density has gone down either because of some habitat destruction or because of something else, then repopulating those areas or boosting those populations is going to be much easier for butterflies. So then the next question is, if we want to do this, if we have to do this for certain endangered species of butterflies, what is the best way to do it? Which populations we take individuals from for breeding, which populations it's okay to release them in, and so on and so forth. So the point I was making was that if Bannerghatta Butterfly Park and other places already start developing expertise on breeding these butterflies, that will be really good. Vaneshi Madam mentioned that the Sahyadri birdwing or southern birdwing that is already being bred in the butterfly park, and it's once you have the larvalose plant set up, it's an easier species to breed. But that may not be the case with Malabar banded swallowtail because its larvalose plant itself is highly specialized. The larvalose plant of birdwing, for example, it will grow on any birthwort or Dutchman's pipe. There are various names for Aristolochia on which its caterpillars feed, but that plant can be grown easily even in gardens or agricultural areas. That may not be the case with the larvalose plant of Malabar banded swallowtail or other endemic and endangered species such as Malabar banded peacock, for example. All these species feed on a single species of larvalose plant or two or three at most. And some of them will also require quite a bit of habitat to successfully breed. The Malabar tree nymph, for example, cannot be bred in a small cage. Perhaps swallowtails can be bred in 10 by 10 kind of cages. So we really need to understand what works for these butterflies. And breeding butterflies is something that has not been tried a lot in India. Bannerghatta Biological Park may be one of the few places where this has been done successfully. Kolkata, the science city, or rather I forget the exact name, but Kolkata uh, has a similar zoo in which there's a butterfly park where butterflies are bred. So there are only a few places in India where this is known. The experience has been built up, expertise has been built up. So that's something that I would request Vaneshi Madam to perhaps support a little
So
bit more in the Bannerghatta Biological Park.
we will have
And
to work together.
yes,
We will have
absolutely,
to work together. Okay.
absolutely. I'm happy to give information. We have a whole network of butterfly biologists and naturalists who can give you information. But ultimately, we'll have to come and help you set up the
So,
plants there. And then, of course, from our Dr. Saji, for example, will be very happy to come and demonstrate how he has raised caterpillars of this species. And other naturalists can also come and give demonstrations. And your staff is actually already very good. I've interacted with it. I'm impressed with how well they do all the breeding of butterflies, how they maintain populations. The conditions are very clean, mortality is very low because of that. And therefore, I think Bannerghatta Butterfly Park has tremendous potential for conservation breeding of butterflies. But if you could put together a program to do this for a few species to begin with, birdwing is probably a good species to begin with because A, it's a state butterfly of Karnataka, and then it occurs in Bangalore area. So it's perhaps easier to start with. And then perhaps species like Malabar banded swallowtail, Malabar tree nymph, and Malabar banded peacock, and those species could eventually be taken up. But if there's interest from Central Zoo Authority and from uh, Bannerghatta Biological Park, then we can certainly come up with a plan and start experimenting first, and then seriously start building populations of butterflies for reintroductions in areas where their populations might have gone down. So I think that will be very productive.
Right. So the next question for you is that you are involved in citizen science projects related to butterflies. How do you
Mhm.
see this playing a role in conservation, and how can zoos be involved?
Ah, So I always say citizen science is one of the best things that has happened for both natural history science and also for conservation action. And the reason I say that is, as you know, money is always tight, right? Most of the research institutions or places like biological parks are funded by the government. Very few are privately funded. And no matter who funds it, it's always going to be underfunded considering the amount of work that needs to be done. So there are only going to be a few scientists who can do this kind of work. But the beauty of citizen science programs is that you basically hand over the work of collecting information to citizen scientists. So if there is a good scientist team which can coordinate all the activities, which can give some direction to data collection, then basically on ground you have hundreds, if not thousands of people. So imagine if you have people in every district, if you have a school in every district which takes responsibility for doing surveys in that particular district of butterflies, birds, and other things, then collecting data on these endangered species is going to be much easier. If I have 10 students, 10 students distributed over India cannot collect the kind of information that we need on these species. And because we collect all that information, we compile that information in one platform, that information is then easily available to either state forest departments, MOEF, or any other government agency which wishes to take conservation action at any level. It could be conservation in the field to perhaps conservation breeding in a place like the butterfly park. So what we would really like to do, especially for these endemic, rare, and endangered species, is generate very detailed understanding of what are the exact flight patterns. Flight patterns, it's in other words, when are these butterflies active? What are the flight periods of these butterflies? In for Malabar banded swallowtail, I already mentioned it has two predominant peaks, one in May, June, and the other one from September to November. But exactly in which areas, in which national parks, along the latitudinal gradient in which this butterfly species occurs, where does it occur in which seasons, which larvalose plants does it prefer locally, and then what are the stages of larvalose plants which can sustain larger butterfly populations? What is the density of these butterflies in these different areas? All these are things that can be done best by citizen scientists who are in that area all the time. In Bangalore, for example, we have the Bangalore Butterfly Club, which counts butterflies every 2 weeks at Doresanipalya Forest Research Campus. It's a campus of Karnataka Forest Department, and we go and count butterflies there every 2 weeks. So over the last 9 years, we have counted more than 90,000 individual butterflies in this particular place. So you can imagine the kind of information we have on seasonal occurrence of all the different butterflies, including some legally protected butterflies that occur in that place. That kind of information can go a long way in both conservation breeding or conservation action in the field. So that is what we plan to hope to achieve in the long term when we have long term data. And by long term, we already have data for the last 10 years from this website. But by long term, I mean 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, long before I'm gone and my students are gone. We need to have this kind of information just generated for the country so that it can be used not only to understand the biology of the species, but also to help them persist in their native habitats.
Right. So thank you, sir. Those were the questions for you. Now move on to the questions from Ms. Vanishri. So, ma'am, the first question for you is that in terms of special attractions in your zoo, is the butterfly park well received by visitors?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah,
Can you repeat the
I'll
question?
repeat, ma'am. In terms of special attractions. Yes. So, in terms of special attractions in your zoo, is the butterfly park well received by visitors?
Yes, yes, very much. It has been. Visitors love it. Visitors love it because we do involve children to release butterflies. Those who come, like tomorrow, we are going to open the park, and Butterfly Park is going to open. Of course, there is a seasonal variation in number of butterflies. So sometimes you don't see that number. So what we do, the species that can multiply. So we have number of species less, say 7 species, but the number of that particular species is more. So butterflies are very, it's like a very any child would love to, grab it. So I have seen parents involved more into the butterfly park of ours, butterfly the exhibition dome, because it carries lot of information. It tells how evolved a butterfly is. The butterfly have evolved 200 million years ago. Even prior flowering plant could evolve. So these are all very unique information. The biomimicry of these butterfly, caterpillar stage is again amazing. And people get to see pupa there, live pupa there in butterfly park. They get to see eggs.
That's amazing.
Different shapes
So
of
that's really good to know. So now,
yeah. So they really enjoy, they understand a lot of uniqueness of butterflies. Like they smell with their antenna and taste with their feet. These are the uniqueness, and these are all very nicely depicted in the exhibition. So I see that the parents love more to visit butterfly park.
okay, that's really nice to know, ma'am. So with that, we'll move on to the second question, which is also pertaining to the butterfly park. So they're saying, so the question is, what are the challenges of maintaining a butterfly park in the zoo? And in terms of scientific and technical support, what do you think a zoo manager would need to popularize the concept?
Yeah, there are challenges in maintaining butterfly, as I told that there is a seasonal pattern in the butterflies. So at one point of time, we had less number of butterflies, but at particular season, that particular month had less number of butterflies. So those challenges are there. But since we are breeding butterflies in the laboratory condition, so we have to. Hello, am I audible, Arundhati?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Am I
You're
audible?
audible.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
because there was a disconnect. So there are challenges maintaining the population, viable population of butterflies, but that challenge is only seasonal. And we need to, expand the section of butterflies, which we are doing. We have now insect section, and people are really, interested to see those insects of the butterfly. So as of now, this is the only butterfly in the country which has a in-house like kind of a dome shape where inside the butterflies are there, as against other butterfly parks which are open butterfly parks. So here you are sure to see butterflies. Basically, when people come to visit, then they need to see butterflies. So sometimes in that seasonal changes are very minimal in this kind of concept. So these are the things. And management practices, definitely what we need to do is we need to now start breeding this new butterfly, Malabar banded swallowtail butterfly. We will work on that.
Okay, so questions for you, ma'am. And with that, we come to an end to this wonderful talk that we have had on the Malabar banded swallowtail. I would like to thank the speakers for taking time out from their schedules and joining in for this species Zoo Talk celebration. I'd like to thank the audience as well, who have been patient and have stayed along through this entire journey of knowing more about butterflies and about the zoo as well. I'd also like to inform the audience that Bannerghatta Biological Park will be continuing their outreach activities till the 4th of July. So do tune in to their social media pages to know more on what are the talks and the activities that they are planning ahead. And I'd also like to inform them that next week, again on Wednesday, from 4 to 5 p.m., we will be having an expert talk on the swamp deer with the One Vihar National Park and Zoo as the zoo in focus. So thank you once again to everyone for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you.